We're done babysitting. My mom's shocking response when I dropped off my daughter. Here's what happened next. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video so you don't miss any interesting stories. So how did it all start? We're not your babysitters anymore, my mom said when I dropped off my daughter. That was the moment everything shifted. So I cut them off, canceled their renter's insurance, and left them scrambling while I took my child on vacation. I stuffed Emily's beloved purple dinosaur into her overnight bag, cradling the phone between my shoulder and ear. Mom, I can't tell you how grateful I am, I said, scanning my checklist. Pajamas, toothbrush, security blanket, extra outfits, stuffed toy. How could a single night require so much? Mark stepped into Emily's room, tapping his watch impatiently. Olivia, we have to go. Traffic's already building up, he warned. I nodded, mouthing one SEC, while my mom's voice crackled through the line. Of course, Olivia. Family always comes first. You know that. There was a strange undertone in her voice, but I brushed it aside. After 6 years of financial help, one evening of babysitting didn't feel like too much to ask. We'll be there in 20, I said, ending the call. Mark, a diaper bag slung over his shoulder, asked, Everything ready? Absolutely, I replied, lifting our sleeping toddler into my arms. The warmth of her small body eased my nerves. Mom would help. She always did when it truly mattered. The drive to my parents' house stirred a familiar mix of hope and uncertainty. Sunlight filtered through the oak trees as Mark pulled into their driveway. I glanced at Emily's peaceful face in the rearview mirror, reminded why tonight was so important. That promotion meant better schooling, a real college fund, actual security. Mark squeezed my hand gently. You ready? He asked. I nodded, unbuckling Emily while he grabbed her bag. As we reached the front door, my mother opened it. Her smile faded the moment she spotted Emily's pink duffel bag. What's this? She asked, her voice cool and distant. A knot tightened in my chest. Mom, it's Emily's things. My presentation. I began, but she cut me off, crossing her arms. Olivia, we're not babysitters. We raised our kids. Her words stung like a slap. Emily stirred in my arms as Mark stopped beside me, the bag dangling from his hand. But we discussed this, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I said we'd talk. Not that we'd agree, she snapped back. Laughter floated in from the living room. My heart pounded as I pushed past her. Who's here? I demanded. Olivia, this isn't a good time, she said, but I followed the voices anyway. In the living room, my father knelt on the floor, stacking blocks with my sister Grace's kids. Grace lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone. My voice felt foreign when I spoke. What's going on? My father glanced up, guilt flickering across his face before he masked it. I didn't expect you to stop by, he said softly. Grace didn't even look up. Mom and Dad are watching the boys tonight. I have a headache. Needed a break. 6 years of financial support flashed through my mind. 6 years of handing over $800 a month. 6 years of just until we're stable. 6 years of missed birthdays because they were too busy. My first paycheck at 22, when Mom casually asked for grocery money. The celebratory dinner for my promotion where they splurged on champagne and lobster with my card. The years I covered their car insurance while Grace contributed nothing. It all hit me at once, sharp and undeniable. Mark moved closer, his hand on the small of my back, a quiet reassurance. I knew he saw it too. Emily stirred, stretching toward her grandmother without a clue about the rejection hanging thick in the air. Gamma, she murmured softly. I held her tighter. When I finally spoke, my voice was steadier than I expected. I get it now, I said quietly. I was never really your daughter, just your wallet. My mother's face flushed red. Olivia, don't be ridiculous, she snapped, but the truth was already out there, and there was no taking it back. This isn't about money. No, it's about value. And in their eyes, mine only seemed to exist when I was footing the bill. Without a word, Mark starts gathering Emily's things. There's nothing left to discuss. The drive home is steeped in silence, the houses we pass blurring together, each one hiding its own messy family dynamics. Mark reaches across the console, his hand finding mine, a quiet, steadying presence. When we pull into the driveway, the ache in my chest lingers, but beneath it, something else takes shape. Clarity. Mark shuts off the engine. What now? He asks softly. I meet his gaze, my decision already made. I know what needs to happen, I say. Later, the dim glow of my laptop casts shadows across the living room. Emily's baby monitor hums softly on the table, her slow, even breathing filling the quiet. My fingers hover above the keyboard for a moment before I begin typing with a sense of finality. I pull up my banking dashboard. 6 years of automatic withdrawals stare back at me. A relentless, unbroken chain of payments. You sure? Mark asks, his voice low and calm. I nod without hesitation. My cursor hovers over the cancel payment button. Then, click. Utilities? Gone. Phone plan? Canceled. Car insurance? Terminated. With every click, it's like another invisible shackle snaps free. Next, I open the spreadsheet I'd pieced together over the last few hours. Line by line, it catalogs every payment, transfer, and loan I've made for them. The total flashes on the screen, $56, $800. The number doesn't shock me anymore. What surprises me is how long I let it go on. Mark settles beside me as I compose a final message to my parents and Grace. From now on, handle your own expenses. Without a second thought, I press send. One by one, I block them. Mom, Dad. I hesitate for a breath at Grace's name, then block her too. It feels cold, but also necessary, like stitching up a wound to stop the bleeding. Come to bed, Mark murmurs. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. At 6:37 a.m., my phone erupts with notifications. Unknown numbers. Voicemails. Emails from accounts I'd forgotten they even had. Somehow, they'd already found ways around the block. As Mark brews coffee, I skim through the barrage of messages, a tightness forming in my stomach. Olivia, the rent didn't process. The landlord called, my mother's first voicemail says. Her voice wavers with confusion, though she tries to mask it with concern. By the third message, her tone has sharpened. Olivia, we could lose our home. Is that what you want? The texts follow the same pattern. First shock, then frustration, then anger. My father, always direct, sends an email stamped 11:42 p.m. Clear evidence he reached out the moment he realized the payments had stopped. A text from an unfamiliar number pops up next, but I recognize it immediately. Grace's backup phone. This isn't about money, it reads. You're just bitter because you weren't the favorite. I set the phone down, my hands surprisingly steady. They've noticed. Mark places a warm mug of coffee in front of me. You all right? He asks gently. I inhale slowly, grounding myself. I think so. I answer. By the afternoon, the backlash spills on his social media. Mark frowns, holding out his phone. You need to see this, he says. On the screen, my mother's Facebook post glows with carefully curated heartbreak. Devastated, it begins. My own daughter, who has more than enough, abandoned us when we needed her most. No warning. No explanation. Money really does change people. Please keep our family in your prayers. The comments come flooding in, dripping with judgment. Some kids forget where they come from. One person writes. I let out a slow breath. Let them talk. Never thought Olivia would do this. You raised her better. That's Grace's contribution. Always quick to twist the knife. She's always been selfish. My hands tremble slightly as I scroll through the endless wave of public humiliation. This is why you kept records, Mark says quietly, his voice a steady reminder. They were always going to pull something like this. A buzz interrupts my thoughts. A text from Tina, a co-worker. Hey, saw some family drama online. You okay? Here if you want to talk. Another notification follows, this time from Dr. Anderson, my therapist. Saw your mom's post being shared. This only proves you made the right choice. And then a message from Claire, an old childhood friend. We all saw how they treated you. Stay strong. I release a slow breath and open my laptop. Mark watches me carefully. What now, he asks. Without answering, I pull up my cloud storage. Years of proof sit waiting. Bank statements, one-sided message threads, and photos from family events I wasn't invited to. With a few quick drags, I organize them into a folder labeled Family Financial Records. Every payment I made, every refusal to watch Emily, it's all there. A spreadsheet documenting every dollar I gave them blinks back at me, cold and undeniable. Mark studies my face. You sure? I meet his eyes, my resolve hardening. They don't get to rewrite the past. My fingers fly across the keyboard, crafting the response that will change everything. As I hover over the post button, hesitation creeps in. One click, and the whole illusion crumbles. Olivia. Mark's voice pulls me back. He turns his laptop toward me, a hint of surprise in his expression. Look at the comments. The tone has shifted. Grace, one of my mom's oldest friends, is defending me openly. Half of her friends are shocked, Mark murmurs. I recognize familiar names, people who've attended birthdays and holiday gatherings. For years, they stood by my parents. Now, they're starting to see the truth. Even Grace's circle isn't safe. 3 of her closest friends have unfollowed her since yesterday. One comment stands out, grateful for your honesty. Your story gave me the courage to stop covering my brother's mortgage. Another reads, your mom boasted about her vacation at book club while complaining you don't help enough. Unbelievable. My throat tightens. I never expected this kind of validation. Mark's hand settles on my shoulder, a steady anchor. Maybe this needed to happen, he says quietly. My phone vibrates again. Mom's 14th attempt to reach me in the past hour. I decline the call, but a text immediately pops up. Olivia, remove that post now. Your father's blood pressure has spiked. Do you want this to be his last memory of you? Call me immediately. The familiar guilt tugs at me, but this time I recognize it for what it is. Manipulation. Dad's health scares always seem to surface when accountability looms. I delete the message without a second thought. They showed up at my job, I tell Mark. Security had to escort them out. His jaw tightens, anger flickering behind his calm exterior. That crosses a line. I let out a brittle laugh. Megan from accounting said Mom was sobbing about my breakdown. I shake my head. And Grace? She's calling from every number she can find. Their landlord even reached out, wondering if I'm still handling the rent. Mark scrolls through his phone, frowning. She's telling everyone you're having a mental crisis. His tone darkens as he continues reading. Your cousin Liam texted me. Grace is saying the stress of motherhood pushed you over the edge. That's why you cut them off. A flash of fury burns through me. She's trying to destroy my credibility. There's more. Mark says, his voice tightening. Your aunt called. If you don't fix this, you're no longer considered family. I let out a breath, long and slow. Is that supposed to scare me? I ask quietly. Being cut off from people who only saw me as an ATM? Another call, an unknown number. I silence it without hesitation. Whatever they have to say, I've heard enough. At least some people still care. Mark's attention shifts to his own phone, where a new message lights up the screen. He smiles faintly and holds it out for me to see. We'd love to take Emily this weekend. Some grandparents want to be part of their grandchild's life. Mom, warmth spreads through me, unexpected and comforting. It isn't quite healing, but it's something close. Even my coworkers have rallied around me. Sophia intercepted Grace when she tried to show up at my office. Ethan's been redirecting my parent calls. And for the first time in years, I don't feel alone. My boss gave me a mental health day. Family issues are harder than work deadlines. Take the time you need. I open my banking app, still adjusting to the sight of my full balance without those automatic withdrawals draining it. The relief hits me, almost too much to take in. Breaking the silence, Mark glances up from his laptop. What about that cabin in the mountains? The one with the fireplace. I almost say we shouldn't, the old habit of hesitation kicking in. But then I stop myself. Actually, let's book it. My eyes drift to the daycare brochure on the counter. The one with the music classes and outdoor play area we'd written off as too expensive. Maybe now, for once, it's within reach. My phone buzzes again. Another message, this time from Aunt Margaret. Your mother is in pieces. We're all concerned about your well-being. This isn't like you, Olivia. Family matters should remain private. I sigh, holding up the phone for Mark to see. They're rallying the extended family now. He just shakes his head, not surprised, only disappointed. Block her too, he says quietly. That night, exhaustion finally pulls me under. But for the first time in years, I sleep without a knot of worry in my chest. No mental math, no sleepless hours wondering how to stretch our finances for someone else. Just deep, peaceful rest. The next morning, I pull up my banking app again. The numbers stay steady, a quiet, powerful reminder that I'm no longer bleeding money to keep my parents afloat. "What's on your mind?" Mark asks, sliding a fresh mug of coffee my way. I tap the daycare brochure. 3 weeks ago, this place felt impossible. Now it's not. Mark leans back, a slow grin spreading across his face. In the cabin, the old reflex to say no twitches at the edge of my mind, but I push it aside. "Yes, let's do it." He nods approvingly. "This is what people do, Sam. They take care of their own family first." I smile softly, still getting used to the idea. I schedule my first therapy session. Dr. Harris has an opening next week. The next morning, I wake to 14 missed calls and a vague hospital message mentioning my dad's name. My stomach clenches until I check the timestamp. 3:17 a.m. A quick call to the hospital confirms what I already suspect. Michael Wright was admitted overnight. Nothing life-threatening. I hang up, setting the phone down with a heavy exhale. "I need a new number." Mark nods, already grabbing his keys. "I've been looking into security systems, too." I blink at him. "You really think they would?" "I don't know what they're capable of anymore," he says. And that's the problem. 3 days later, I sit across from Dr. Harris. I try to put it into words, the weight still clinging to me. The guilt is still there, I admit, like I'm doing something wrong by not setting myself on fire to keep them warm. She nods, her expression calm and knowing. "That guilt was conditioned into you. It's their strongest weapon." I tell her everything, how my mother tried to barge into my office again, how security had to turn her away, how Mark confronted my father about the cease and desist letter, the new locks, the security cameras. "You're not cutting them off completely," Dr. Harris says gently. "You're setting boundaries. There's a difference." That evening, as Emily builds a wobbly tower of blocks on the living room floor, I open my laptop. My cursor hovers over my social media accounts for only a moment. Then, with 3 clicks, I deactivate them all. The silence that follows feels almost sacred. Mark settles beside me, sliding an arm around my shoulders. "How do you feel?" he asks softly. I watch as Emily's tower sways before collapsing into a colorful heap. She giggles, then immediately starts to rebuild, this time with a steadier foundation. I lean into Mark's warmth, my heart feeling lighter than it has in years. "More than okay," I say. "Better than I thought possible." I smile softly, recognizing the quiet lesson unfolding before me. Sometimes things have to crumble before they can be rebuilt on a stronger foundation. My new phone rests silently on the table. No more guilt-ridden texts or manipulative calls. Just space. Space to breathe, to heal, and to move forward. A notification flashes across the screen, a message from an unknown number. "You destroyed this family. Hope you're proud of yourself." Selfish. I delete it without a second thought. Another message arrives almost immediately. It's the 6th this week from one of my mother's acquaintances. I erase that one too and flip the phone face down on the kitchen counter, refusing to let their words linger. Through the window, I watch Mark pushing Emily on the swing set, the one we finally assembled last weekend. It was one of the first things we could afford after I stopped funneling money to my parents. The simple sight fills me with a sense of peace. The neighborhood buzz hit its peak last month when my parents held a yard sale. Their flawless Italian leather couch, the one I unknowingly paid for, sat out on display with a $1,500 price tag. My mother's collection of luxury purses and my father's expensive golf gear told their own story, a tangible reminder of where my $800 monthly payments really went. Cheryl, one of Mom's longtime tennis partners, cornered me at the grocery store yesterday, her tone heavy with curiosity. "Your dad's interviewing at the hardware store. Your mom applied to a call center," she said, as if testing my reaction. I just nodded calmly while reaching for a bag of apples. "That's good," I said. What I didn't say was that it took them 2 months, 8 whole weeks, to reach rock bottom. What I didn't say was that they're in their 50s, not frail or helpless. They could have sought jobs years ago. What I didn't say was that Grace is finally paying her own bills and supporting her kids. And what I didn't say, what I didn't need to say, was how freeing it felt to no longer bear that weight. At home, I sliced cucumbers and dropped cherry tomatoes into a salad, my hands steady. 3 months ago, they would have trembled under the pressure of my parents' next inevitable demand. The doorbell rings, pulling me from my thoughts. I glance through the peephole. Mrs. Robinson from church stands there, holding a casserole dish. Her lips are pursed, her expression heavy with judgment. "Olivia," she greets, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I brought your family a meal, considering everything." Everything, meaning I've chosen my side, and it's not yours. "That's kind of you, but we're all right," I say, not bothering to invite her inside. "Actually, my boss is coming over for dinner tomorrow. I was promoted last week." Her eyebrows shoot up in surprise. I hadn't planned to share that bit of news, but watching her scramble for a response makes it worth it. "A promotion?" she stammers, clearly unprepared for any narrative that doesn't paint me as the selfish daughter who abandoned her struggling parents. What she doesn't know is that my life looks very different now. I work fewer hours. Without my parents' constant financial emergencies hanging over my head, my productivity soared. Ideas flow easily without the distraction of panic calls about bounce checks or overdue bills. I take the casserole from her hands. "You can let your prayer group know I'm doing just fine," I say, flashing a polite smile. I know they're probably praying for me to crumble under guilt, to return and resume my role as the family's personal ATM. When she leaves, I head straight to the trash can and tip the casserole in. Maybe it's petty, but feels liberating. Later, after Emily is tucked into bed, I find Mark sitting on the couch, holding an old photograph. It's from my graduation, me in my cap and gown, my parents on either side, smiling wide. That was before the demand started, before the payments and the resentment. "You okay?" he asks, noticing the look on my face. I lower myself onto the couch beside him. "I cried over it earlier," I admit quietly. "Not because I miss them. I miss who I thought they were." Without a word, Mark slides the photo into the nightstand drawer instead of the dresser. Some things belong in the past. A small gesture, but it says everything. We're making space for new memories. The next weekend, I open Catherine's college fund. That first $800 deposit feels huge. From now on, the money that once vanished into my parents' endless needs will secure my daughter's future. Sometimes Catherine asks, "Will we see Grandma today?" Every time, it stings, not for me, but for her. She's too young to understand how relationships turn toxic. "Not today, love," I say, guiding her toward toys, books, or the swing. Therapy reminds me this isn't selfish, it's survival. My counselor nods when I explain setting boundaries with church women, old friends, and my mother's messengers sent to guilt me. "You're finding yourself again," she says. "Caretaking consumed you. Now you're learning who Olivia is without carrying everyone else's problems." Olivia, someone who sleeps peacefully, no longer fearing bills. A mom fully present at bath time. A wife with energy for date nights. A professional finally valued. Surprisingly, I like this version of me. Last week at the store, I saw my high school English teacher. She hugged me. "I heard what happened," she whispered. "My sister did the same. Walking away saved me." I didn't know this had a name. Financial abuse. That cold certainty I felt wasn't just mine. I wasn't the problem. I tell Mark later. I thought if I just did more, it would fix everything. He pulls me close. "You fixed the only thing you could." Walking away. Outside, spring unfolds. We're planting a garden. Things that grow, that stay clear. Wooden frames mark the boundaries. An envelope sits on the counter for 3 days. No name, but I know my mother's handwriting. For 8 months, our only contact has been through lawyers or others. "You don't have to read it," Mark says, sliding me coffee. "Your choice." I run my finger along the seal. "What if it's another trap?" "Then toss it," he says softly. "You've learned how." That night, after Catherine sleeps, I open it to handwritten lines. No blame, no demands, just regret. I kept taking until nothing was left. Then I was angry when you stopped. "I'm sorry, Olivia." The next morning, I call my therapist. "People can change," she says, "but actions prove it." "Not words," I reply. A cafe meeting, public, short. She agrees. No argument. Something shifts. For once, she respects my boundary. Cafe Meridian hums when I arrive early. I sit in the corner, facing the door. Order black coffee, I won't drink. My mother arrives right on time, almost unrecognizable. The dyed hair and designer bag are gone. She's in simple, practical clothes. Older, smaller. She spots me and freezes, clutching a cloth bag. I stay seated, silent. Carefully, she approaches. "Olivia," she says softly, standing by the chair. "Sit," I answer steady. She does, placing her hands on the table, then pulling them back nervously, so unfamiliar for the confident woman I once knew. "I need to be clear," I start. "This is a conversation, not a reconciliation. My boundaries are non-negotiable. If I feel manipulated, I leave." I expect anger, but she only nods. I understand. The server arrives. She orders plain tea. No comments, no complaints. Once alone, I stay direct. "You took over $60,000 from me. You favored Grace's kids, ignored mine, and shamed me when I stopped paying." Tears rise in her eyes. But she admits, "Yes, I did." The simple truth hits hard. After years of denial, hearing it aloud is shocking. "Dad still refuses to accept it," she adds. "Says you owed us." Grace is beginning to see things differently. I set my coffee down. "Did you ever love me? Or just what I gave?" She breaks. "I loved you, but I didn't know how. I confused love with taking from you." She wipes her eyes. "That's not an excuse." The server leaves us in silence as she unwraps the bag. Hands trembling, I steady myself. "If we move forward," I say, "there are conditions." She nods, lips pressed tight. "No more money, ever. Mark and Catherine come first. Therapy is required, and you must admit everything publicly." She stares into her tea, shoulders tense as she wrestles with the weight of my words. But after a moment, she exhales softly and nods. "I understand. It'll be hard, but I'll do it." "Dad won't," I add, the familiar sting of his rejection cutting through the fragile moment. She shakes her head, eyes dim. "He refuses. Thinks you'll come back eventually." "And Grace?" I ask, though my voice lacks real curiosity. "She's trying," my mother says quietly. "Asks about you sometimes." Still defensive. She pauses, as if gauging my reaction. The family's dividing. Some are facing the truth. Others, they cling to denial. I shrug, the emotional distance finally comfortable. I'm fine with that. If we continue, I control the terms now. I decide when you see Catherine. "I'd love to." "When you're ready," she says, her voice soft with hope that flickers but doesn't push. "You need to prove it first," I say, keeping my tone firm. "Regular updates. Therapy. No money talks." She nods again, this time with more conviction, fingers tightening around her mug. "I work at the community college now," she offers. "Admin assistant. It's not much, but it's something." For the first time, I see her as a person, not an obligation. Not a manipulator. Not a mother to be feared. And for the first time, I think she might finally see me too. Not as a resource, but as her daughter. "Time's up," I say, glancing at my watch. Our 30 minutes are over. We rise together. She doesn't try to hug me. She doesn't press for more. "Thanks for meeting me," she says, and for once, I think she means it. I nod, grabbing my purse. "We'll see." As I walk to my car, a strange lightness settles in my chest. I'm not healed, not by a long shot, but I am free, and the power is mine now. Not for revenge, but for protection. For the kind of wisdom you earn the hard way. Some bridges can be rebuilt. Others are better left burned. Knowing the difference? That's real freedom. At home, I run my hand along the wall. Our wall, still amazed that this place is ours. Sunlight spills through the windows, warming the maple tree outside. Catherine sways gently in the breeze, waiting for her laughter. "Where should this go?" Mark's voice breaks the quiet as he holds a framed photo. "Last Christmas." Catherine smiled wide as she clutched her favorite giraffe. "By the stairs," I say, feeling the frame's weight in a new way. "Where we'll see it every day." Our photo wall tells our story now, real smiles, real love. Not the curated image of a family that only saw me as a checkbook. Just us and the people who truly care. My phone buzzes, a message from my mother. Her name isn't blocked, just managed. Same time Saturday. Found a book Catherine might like. I type back, short but clear. Mark will be there. Boundaries. Day 1. Supervised visits. No money talks. No criticism. If she wants to be a part of our lives, she follows the rules. I check my blog. 3 new comments on my latest post. Breaking free from family ATM duty. Our support group is up to 37 members now. People realizing they aren't alone in this. Mommy, look. Catherine rushes in, holding a purple crayon drawing. At 3 years old, she already knows more about respect than I did at 30. Last week, when a friend grabbed her juice box, she stood firm and said, "You say thank you when someone shares." I kneeled down, admiring her artwork. "It's beautiful. Should we put it on the fridge?" "Yes." Her face lights up. "Can I show Gamma on Saturday?" "What day is it?" I ask gently. "Wednesday," she answers, thoughtful. Then we wait for Saturday. No tears, no tantrums. Kids adjust the boundaries. It's the adults who struggle. My father chose pride over respect. Some days that still aches. But most days, it's a relief. Grace calls sometimes. The anger has softened. Last month, she even admitted, "I didn't realize how much you carried." In the quiet of the evening, Mark pulls me into his arms as we watch Catherine color. "The promotion suits you," he murmurs. I smile. "Senior marketing director. The salary pays for our home, for Catherine's college fund. Everything we need. Amazing what I can achieve when I'm not carrying the weight of grown adults." Tonight, I speak at the community center. 20 people signed up, each one on their own path from family bank to financial freedom. I smile at the unspoken lesson. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can be rebuilt the right way. My new phone rests quietly on the table. No guilt-tripping texts. No manipulative calls. Just room to breathe, to heal, to move forward. A notification buzzes from an unknown number. "You destroyed this family. Hope you're proud of yourself. You're selfish." I delete it without hesitation. Another message pops up. Another of my mom's acquaintances, the 6th this week. I erase it too and leave my phone face down on the kitchen counter. Through the window, I watch Mark pushing Catherine on the swing set we assembled last weekend. Something we could finally afford once I stopped sending my parents money. The neighborhood buzzed last month when my parents held a yard sale. Their flawless Italian leather couch, the one I unknowingly paid for, was on display with a $1,500 price tag. Mom's luxury purses, Dad's golf gear, all undeniable proof of where my $800 monthly payments had really gone. "They're job hunting now," Cheryl whispered at the store yesterday. Mom's tennis partner for years avoided my gaze. "Your dad interviewed at the hardware store. Your mom applied to a call center." I nodded calmly while picking apples. "That's good. Why didn't say?" It took 8 weeks for them to hit rock bottom. They're in their 50s, not elderly. They should have had jobs long ago. And Grace? She's finally paying for her own kids. I dropped cherry tomatoes into the salad and sliced cucumbers, my hand steady. 3 months ago, they would have trembled, worrying about their next demand. The doorbell rings. I check the peephole. Mrs. Robinson from church, holding a casserole, her lips pursed in judgment. "Olivia," she greets me, her voice full of fake sympathy. "Brought your family a meal, considering everything." Meaning, I've picked my side, and it's not yours. "Kind of you, but we're all right," I reply. I don't invite her inside. Actually, my boss is joining us for dinner tomorrow. I was promoted last week. Her eyebrows rise. I hadn't planned to share, but seeing her surprise makes it worth it. "A promotion?" she stammers. Of course. Who'd promote the selfish daughter who abandoned her struggling parents? What she doesn't know, I work fewer hours now. No more juggling their financial emergencies. My performance soared. Ideas flow freely without panicked calls about bounce checks or overdue bills. I take the casserole. It's easier to tell your prayer group, "Thanks." I know they're praying for me to regret this, to crawl back and play family ATM. After she leaves, I dump the casserole straight into the trash. Maybe it's petty, but it's freeing. Later, after Catherine's tucked in, I find Mark holding an old photo, my graduation. Me in cap and gown, my parents smiling before the demands, before the payments. You okay? He asks, catching me staring. I cried over it earlier, I admit, sitting beside him. Not because I miss them, I miss who I thought they were. Mark quietly tucks the photo into his nightstand drawer instead of the dresser. A small gesture, but it says everything. We're making space for new memories. The next weekend, I open Catherine's college fund. That first $800 deposit feels huge. From now on, the money that once vanished into my parents' endless needs will secure my daughter's future. Sometimes Catherine asks, "Will we see Grandma today?" Every time, it stings, not for me, but for her. She's too young to understand how relationships turn toxic. "Not today, love," I say, guiding her toward toys, books, or the swing. Therapy reminds me this isn't selfish, it's survival. My counselor nods when I explain setting boundaries with church women, old friends, and my mother's messengers sent to guilt me. "You're finding yourself again," she says. "Caretaking consumed you. Now you're learning who Olivia is without carrying everyone else's problems." Olivia, someone who sleeps peacefully, no longer fearing bills. A mom fully present at bath time. A wife with energy for date nights. A professional finally valued. Surprisingly, I like this version of me. Last week at the store, I saw my high school English teacher. She hugged me. "I heard what happened," she whispered. My sister did the same. Walking away saved me. I didn't know this had a name, financial abuse. That cold certainty I felt wasn't just mine. I wasn't the problem. I tell Mark later. I thought if I just did more, it would fix everything. He pulls me close. "You fixed the only thing you could," walking away. Outside, spring unfolds. We're planting garden. Things that grow, that stay clear. Wooden frames mark the boundaries. An envelope sits on the counter for 3 days. No name, but I know my mother's handwriting. For 8 months, our only contact has been through lawyers or others. "You don't have to read it," Mark says, sliding me coffee. "Your choice." I run my finger along the seal. "What if it's another trap?" "Then toss it," he says softly. "You've learned how." That night, after Catherine sleeps, I open it, handwritten lines. "No blum, no demands, just regret." I kept taking until nothing was left. Then I was angry when you stopped. "I am sorry, Olivia." The next morning, I call my therapist. "People can change," she says. "But actions prove it," I reply. A cafe meeting, public, short. She agrees. No argument. Something shifts. For once, she respects my boundary. Cafe Meridian hums when I arrive early. I sit in the corner, facing the door. I order black coffee I won't drink. My mother arrives right on time, almost unrecognizable. The dyed hair and designer bag are gone. She's in simple, practical clothes. Older, smaller. She spots me and freezes, clutching a cloth bag. I stay seated, silent. Carefully, she approaches. "Olivia," she says softly, standing by the chair. "Si, iensa, steady." She does, placing her hands on the table, then pulling them back nervously, so unfamiliar from the confident woman I once knew. "I need to be clear," I start. "This is a conversation, not a reconciliation. My boundaries are non-negotiable. If I feel manipulated, I leave." I expect anger, but she only nods. I understand. The server arrives. She orders plain tea. No comments. No complaints. Once alone, I stay direct. "You took over $60,000 from me. You favored Grace's kids, ignored mine, and shamed me when I stopped paying." Tears rise in her eyes. But she admits, "Yes, I did." The simple truth hits hard. After years of denial, hearing it aloud is shocking. "Dad still refuses to accept it," she adds. "Says you owed us." Grace is beginning to see things differently. "Did you ever love me? Or just what I gave?" I ask. She breaks. "I loved you, but I didn't know how. I confused love with taking from you." She wipes her eyes. "That's not an excuse." Her hands tremble. "If we move forward," I say, "there are conditions." She nods. "No more money, ever. Mark and Catherine come first. Therapy is required. You must admit everything publicly." She stares into her tea, struggling, but finally nods. "I understand. It'll be hard, but I'll do it." "Dad won't," I add. She shakes her head. He refuses. Thinks you'll come back. And Grace, she's trying. Asks about you. Still defensive. If we continue, I control the terms. I decide when she sees Catherine. I'd love to. When you're ready, she says, hope flickering. I check my watch. Time's up. Our 30 minutes are over. We stand. She doesn't try to hug me, respecting the boundary. Thanks for meeting me, she says. I nod, grabbing my purse. We'll see. Walk into my car. I feel lighter, not healed, but free. I hold the power now, not out of revenge, but protection and hard-earned wisdom. Some bridges are rebuilt. Others stay burned. Knowing the difference is freedom. My slides show my journey from debt to savings. Proof of change. What are you thinking? Mark asks. He always knows. Grateful, I say, leaning back. Not for what happened, but for what I learned. What's that? He asks. I glance around our home. Everything chosen together. I remember Mom in therapy last week. I'm proud of who you've become. No demands followed. My worth was never what I gave, I say, meeting Mark's eyes. It's who I am. Yeah,